Hello, welcome to our 6th antenatal class in a series of 8. I'm Karen and I'm today joined by my expert midwife, Midwife Malena.
Hi.
The course will span 8 weeks and we will take you through growing a baby, giving birth and caring for your new baby. Today's topic is giving birth and delivering your placenta. And we'll be looking at the best positions for birth, talking about pushing and breathing your baby out and how you can deliver your placenta, as well as how you can adapt this if you have an assisted delivery, that's Ventouse or forceps, or a cesarean section. So we've got an awful lot to cover, haven't we, in all of this?
We have, yes.
So we'll get started, and we'll start with the very end of labour, which is in the textbooks, it's called the second stage of labour, isn't it, Malena?
That's right. So the second stage follows the first stage, and basically it starts when your cervix becomes fully dilated and finishes when your baby is born. Okay? So when your cervix is fully dilated, basically it's either 10 centimeters, the famous, am I 10 centimeters yet? And if we were to have a feel around your baby's head, we wouldn't feel any cervix. And every woman will feel the second stage differently, like any part of labor, really. You might feel increased pressure in your bottom. You might feel some stretching and burning in the vagina. You might feel urges to push, and your contractions might become stronger and longer, although they also might become more spaced out. And this is a clever trick of nature to help you rest and gather your energy before the next contraction. Not all women experience urges to push, and definitely not straight away. So the second stage of labor, usually we divide it into 2 phases, the passive phase and the active phase. So the passive phase is basically the stage of the part of the second stage of labor where you don't have any involuntary urges to push. Okay, and again, this is a clever trick of nature to give you a breather, okay, to give you that time to relax and save up energy for when you want to push your baby out. And this is then called the active phase, okay, when you have uncontrollable urges to push, okay, and you can't really do anything about it, you just have to go. And we would always advise that, well, Karen's going to talk about pushing in a little bit, but we always advise for you to wait until you have that urge before you do any pushing. However, some women don't experience urges to push at all in the second stage, and the baby just makes their own way down the pelvic canal. With
the uterus is very powerful, isn't it? It's a really powerful muscle.
Very,
the most
indeed.
Powerful muscle in the human body, and
oh yes,
it can just get your baby through the birth canal itself when left to its own devices, yes. which is amazing. But then, so it should do if it is as powerful as that, which it is.
Absolutely, and we call this the fetal ejection reflex. Okay, so some women, without an epidural even, will think, my baby's coming and I'm not doing anything, but I just cannot stop it. So yeah, this is the force of your uterus just doing what it knows best. Your body is wise and it will just do what it needs to do. So what you want throughout your whole labor, definitely during your second stage, is you want a safe and non-threatening environment. Okay? You want to feel really safe and very much in your zone. You want all that oxytocin, flowing through your veins, okay? Karen has recently done a video on oxytocin, so do, when you watch this afterwards, go and have a little look at that video because it's really informative. It's the hormone that you want literally to be bathed in labor, and for that you want, the appropriate environment. And you, if your environment is safe and your oxytocin is flowing, then you want to try and keep that going. So concentrate on remaining calm, on resting in between contractions, on closing your eyes, really giving your body and your mind a bit of a rest, and focus on breathing. Um, Breathing in will increase your energy and stimulate your body and awaken you a little bit, whereas breathing out will help you cool down and will relax your body and your mind. And very especially with the second stage, what you want is to have a relaxed lower jaw and a relaxed throat. And there is, you might think this is a little bit out there, but there is a connection between your throat and your jaw and your pelvic floor. So
And
when you relax,
relaxing down as well, just your
exactly, well, it
whole
relaxes
body.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like when you yawn and you relax your lower jaw, everything, all your upper body relaxes, and it relaxes the whole of your body, and it relaxes your vagina and your pelvic floor. So we will see when we're looking after women in second stage that usually their noises change, their behavior changes, and you don't have to really learn how to breathe a particular breath. You just go with it. So remember to just try to, instead of clenching and thinking, oh, the pain, and clenching your jaw and becoming tense, just breathing in and letting go. I remember this from when I was pregnant and I did some yoga classes. That was the only thing that I really took away and I could remember in labor. When I was in second stage, just breathing in and just breathing out. And then, your baby is definitely moving that down your birth canal, those noises will change, and there's really very little that you can do about that. And then for a more comfortable and shorter second stage, you want to make sure that you are in the right position. Okay, so you want to ideally favor upright positions. Okay, these positions will assist your baby into an optimal position, okay, to travel down the birth canal. It will open up your pelvic outlet, so your birth canal. It's that little tailbone and your coccyx, which is right at the base of your spine. And when you're upright, it will move out of the way. Whereas if you are with your weight on your sacrum, so right on your bottom, that your pelvis will be closed in. So the diameter, the opening of your pelvis will be a little bit smaller. Also, when you're upright, gravity plays definitely a good effect. Okay, it helps your baby to move down and out, and being upright as well will help your uterus, your womb, to contract more strongly and efficiently. So examples of upright positions include squatting, either independently or leaning from a bar or a rope, or even sitting on the toilet. Okay, standing and going on your hands and knees, so kneeling, sitting on a birth stool, or just kneeling by itself. And if for whatever reason you don't feel like being upright, either you have got an epidural in place, or there's other reason, that you don't want to be upright, you can lay on your side. So side lying, maybe with a peanut ball in between your knees, okay, to make sure that your pelvis is nice and open. And you might want to, throw that away once you're pushing, because you might want to hold onto your legs. But, this will also open your pelvic outlet.
Or your birth partner could help support your leg as well, couldn't they?
Exactly. Birth partner and midwife can help support your
Yeah.
leg, so that
Or
you
put
don't
a
have to do
little
that extra
platform
work
up as well for your leg.
Yeah. What you definitely want to avoid throughout your whole labor, and most definitely second stage, is any sort of supine or semi-recumbent position. Okay, so anything that makes your weight be on your back or on your bottom. Okay, not only for the reasons that we just explained about the pelvis, but also because there's major blood vessels running through the middle of you, and so when you have your pregnant womb, okay, which is heavy, on top of those vessels, can reduce the blood supply to the placenta and therefore to your baby. So your baby is more likely to become a little bit distressed and unhappy. So, and yourself, we want you to be really well oxygenated too. So,
Yeah.
and
So then at that point, you'll start to feel baby move down a lot more, and you'll be coming to a stage that you might have heard of, which is called crowning. So it's when your baby's head, so you'll be able to see your baby's head as your perineum starts to stretch, coming through here, and it'll be a point where baby doesn't go back anymore. So you might push your baby and feel your baby move forward and then back, forward. Your baby's trying to come around a U-bend. So at that point, when it starts to crown, your baby's head will stay there and it won't go back anymore, which is fantastic, but it can sting a little bit. So it can feel a little bit stingy. Sometimes call it the ring of fire, but that sounds a little bit crazy, but it's a very short amount of time. It's a few seconds really. And it should be celebrated, because you know that your baby is nearly earthside by then, which is fantastic. You've done all that hard work and you're right at the end of everything. So that's brilliant. So when you feel that, listen to your body. If it's stinging and hurting, maybe put your hand down and feel your own baby's head to maybe stop it from coming, as so you can feel kind of like the speed that your baby's coming. So you can put both hands or one hand down there, or you can ask your midwife to do that, or your partner if you wanted to do that. And as your baby is coming, there is really good evidence to say that a warm perineal compress is a good idea. Now, you're probably wondering what on earth that is. So I've got a little demonstration here, which every midwife will have this kit in her bag, whether it's a home birth or whether it's in the hospital, wherever it is. She will have a bowl, which is like that there, and she will have a swab. And you can bring your own swab if you want to, so you can bring your own flannel if you want to use your own. Now, just by dipping it into this water here, warm water, and then you would apply that right on that patch of skin that we talk about with perineal massage, the patch of skin between the vagina and the anus, your bum basically. You would apply that onto there, and it would be really warm. It helps the blood vessels dilate, and it helps to protect you from tearing. Really, really strong evidence for that. Just a little swab like that, or your own flannel, and get your midwife to do that for you if you feel like that would be helpful. Lots of women find it when it's applied that it's really soothing as well for that sort of stingy, burny feeling. Obviously, if you're having a water birth, which lots of women do, then that's can't be done in the pool, but you've got all that lovely water all around your perineum, softening all those tissues, so it doesn't need to be done. So don't worry if you can't have that done, but if you're on dry land and having a birth out of the water, then I would definitely give it some thought. And even if it's last minute, it can be done very quickly for you, if that's what you would prefer to have. So as your baby's crowning and coming, you want to listen to your own body. Obviously, put your hand down there if you want to, but your midwife will be with you, and hopefully you'll have a really good rapport with her, because you'll have spent a little bit of time with her. She'll have read your birth plan and everything. We have a video on birth plans if you want to look at that. So we talk about birth plans in our antenatal video on YouTube, and we also have a video on YouTube and on Instagram on birth plans. So you'll have built up this rapport, and your midwife will talk to you. So she will use her voice and be able to guide you on how fast your baby is coming, so that your baby doesn't like shoot out, or come out too quickly. So you want everything, that perineum, to go from like that, slowly, slowly, slowly. It thins, it's a muscle, so it thins to almost paper thin, and your baby's head comes slowly. And then after your baby's head's born, then obviously the rest of baby's body and shoulders will come then. Babies, when they're born, can be a little bit wet and slippery, so just be conscious of that. You probably want to dry your baby or put your baby skin to skin with just a cover over you quite quickly, just because the evaporation of the waters that have been around baby can cool baby off a little bit. So, you know, just you might deliver your baby and a baby might be passed between your legs and you might see your baby straight away on the bed. And you just want to look down, look at your baby, and that's absolutely fine. But get your baby skin to skin with you, you know, as soon as you're ready to, really.
We're going to talk a little bit more about this next on the next class.
Yes, totally, yeah.
First golden hour. So we won't go into detail right now, but
yeah,
make sure that you tune in for the next one.
Yeah, that'll be available on YouTube too. Yeah. So part of the golden hour is delivering your placenta, because we want to talk a lot about the golden hour in the next video. So we want to put the placenta into this one. Now, I'm not going to touch much on delayed cord clamping, because we're going to do delayed cord clamping in the next video with the golden hour. So I'll just talk about delivering your placenta. So if you've had a natural birth, sort of normal, with very little, low intervention within it, then there's no reason why you can't, once you've delivered your baby, given birth to your baby, that you can't give birth or deliver your placenta without needing any intervention as well. So this is what we call a physiological third stage. So we'll start with this way of delivering your placenta first. So basically, when I was working on Delivery Suite, people would always ask me, Karen, how do I facilitate a physiological third stage? You do loads of them, but what do you do? Now, the absolute key to this is you don't do anything as a midwife. You don't do anything as a woman. Your body, just as it was absolutely capable of delivering your baby, is absolutely capable of delivering your placenta. Now, this depends upon certain conditions. So what you need to do is, as you had adapted your environment for your labour, and your environment was lovely, you had everything you wanted, everything that made you relaxed and comfortable around you, probably the lights down dim, you were in a warmish room, you had all your lovely things around you and your partner with you, and that will increase your oxytocin. It's really important that that continues from, isn't it, Malena? From when your baby is born, then the oxytocin needs to keep coursing through your body in order to birth your placenta, because this placenta is going to be delivered by your uterus, which is going to contract the same way as it did to get your baby out. So keeping that oxytocin level high is essential. So if you see people bustling around you, or the lights go on, or your partner wants to ring his mother or family or whatever, just try and calm all of that down. Everything needs to be much, much calmer. You've got a baby, everything can wait. You know, just look at your baby. You've got your baby in your arms and your birth partner is with you. Your midwife can take a little bit of a back seat with everything. She'll have plenty of notes to do anyway, because so is a big part of midwifery nowadays.
Indeed. This is a really good subject to really discuss with your birth partner or partners, you know, during your pregnancy, so that, you know, because with the excitement of it all, I think it can be forgotten, you know, and you just want to ring everybody straight away and make all that noise. And as you were saying, it can be so disruptive. So maybe have a good discussion and even put it into your birth plan, you know, once baby is born, please keep the lights dimmed, please keep the noise to a minimum.
Totally,
yeah, because you want to keep that nice and steady so that your body does what it does best.
So some women feel contractions for the placenta and others don't. Now, the women that do feel the contractions generally don't experience them like the contractions for delivering your baby, it's more a cramping sort of contraction, but they might still be quite strong and you might feel them. Other women sometimes don't feel them at all. So again, it's a very individual thing. But once you get those contractions, if you give a little push down, which will feel very different from pushing your baby, but give a little push down and it will help to just expel this placenta, because sometimes it has actually detached from your uterus and it's sat in the vagina, just basically waiting to come out.
Yeah.
They often set a time limit to hospitals. Now, if you're not actively bleeding and you don't want to stick to that time limit, then it's perfectly reasonable to ask for a little bit more time if your placenta hasn't come after, I think it's about an hour that they want to see the placenta with their guidelines. So ask for a little bit more time and say that, you'd like to get a bit more upright. Sometimes emptying your bladder is a really good thing, because sometimes if you've got a full bladder, then that can obstruct your placenta getting out. So maybe get up and go to the toilet. Often it drops out when you get up off the bed anyway.
It does.
Now, if there is a problem, so as problems are basically you want to part with your placenta at some point because you probably don't want to go home with it. So you probably will want to have a time limit in mind of how long you do want to wait. But the other problem that midwives and healthcare professionals worry about is bleeding, so active bleeding. So if you are starting to bleed a lot during this period and the placenta is not yet delivered, then there are drugs that you can then convert to what we call an actively managed third stage. So active management of the third stage is when the midwife will give you an injection. It will be either an injection of a drug called syntocinon or one called synthometrin. And it usually goes into the top of your leg. And then after a couple of minutes or so, the midwife will pop a hand on your tummy, and then she will gently pull on the cord to see if the placenta is coming and is released. So if you have a heavy blood loss, you can always remember that you can plan to deliver your placenta physiologically and then convert to having an actively managed stage because you don't want to get to a point where you've lost a litre of blood and you still haven't delivered your placenta, because that potentially could compromise your recovery a little bit. I mean, the decision is yours at the end of the day, but so I always remember every choice and decision is yours, but you probably want to think about being guided by your midwife to what a heavy blood loss might be, and considering the injection if that doesn't come. So really, you won't really do anything with an active managed stage apart from have the injection and have the midwife pulling at the placenta, the cord to deliver the placenta, and then the placenta should deliver. In rare occasions, what can happen is a placenta does not come and you have a retained placenta. Now, this is a very small percentage of women, not very many at all. I'd say it's absolutely less than 5% of women, a lot less than 5% of women will need to go to theatre and have that, have a regional anaesthetic, an epidural or a spinal, so they can actually remove that placenta for you. But remember that that's quite unusual. And I think that's about it on placentas. Oh, with the injection, you might want to consider not having it if everything is fine with everything, just because one of the side effects is vomiting. So nausea and vomiting, and that can affect quite a few women, I've found. Have you found that, Malena?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
After that injection.
Even if you're not naturally sickly,
Yeah.
you can have quite strong waves of nausea and vomiting, which is really something that you so want to avoid when you're just giving birth to your baby and you want to enjoy them and cuddle them. and you find that you're passing baby on to somebody else because you're just feeling so unwell. So definitely, unless there is a need.
But those drugs are always available in the hospital should you need them, and your midwife will bring them if you have a home birth as well, and in birth centres as well if you have your baby in a birth centre.
Yeah. It is worth saying though that if you were to become really sick because you needed to have the injection or opted to have it, midwives can also give you some antiemetic drugs, which are anti-sickness, to hopefully try and alleviate that sickness. So we wouldn't just let you feel rotten. We would try our best to make you feel better. Yeah.
So that's about the placenta, and the next thing I wanted to talk about was assisted delivery. So sometimes babies need a little bit of help, don't they, Malena? You know,
they do.
Don't all just pop out. Most of them do, but some of them a little bit more difficult to birth, and you need a little bit of a hand with them.
Absolutely. There might be different reasons why your baby needs a bit of a helping hand to be born. It might be that they're a little bit distressed, and the midwives and the doctors are a little bit worried about their well-being, and perhaps the birth is not imminent. They don't think that the baby is going to be born quick enough, and for them not to be concerned, so they want to expedite, so to bring that birth a little bit forward. So one of the methods of assisting, even though it's not usually categorized as an assisted birth, but it is an assistance to your birth, is performing an episiotomy. And you have probably heard about this in many places. An episiotomy, basically what it is a cut that is made to your perineum, so to that area of skin and muscle between your vagina and your anus, which will be really stretched and really thinned out, so it won't look anything that it looks to you now, when you do your perineal massage. So you can't imagine right now that being cut by a pair of scissors, but when your baby is crowning, the perineum is extremely thin, so it will be done under a local anesthetic, so before they do an episiotomy, well, first of all, they would ask for your consent and discuss it with you, and if you give your consent, they will infiltrate the area, so they will put a little injection, that you will probably not even notice because already the skin and the muscle is so stretched that will probably be unnoticeable to you, and they'll just put some local anesthetic. And then as your baby is coming and the perineum is stretching really thin, they will just do a little cut, which usually, if this is your perineum, they will go to one side, usually to the right, just to make sure that it doesn't go down into your bottom. And that will just open the vaginal opening, so that your baby is born a little bit quicker.
We've got a blog on this as well, haven't we? We've got a blog on
yes,
and episiotomies if you want to learn more. And also it's worth noting, isn't it, that perineal massage reduces your chances of tearing and
exactly.
So it just makes the perineum more stretchy and elastic and helps everything to stretch better when your baby is crowning. So please follow our Power to the Perineum campaign that we have at the moment, as well as looking at our videos and animations that we've got on perineal massage, because I think you'll find it very helpful to learn about that.
Absolutely. I mean, we call it Power to the Perineum. It's really power, it will empower you to know, not only to get to know your body, but to know that you can do something to reduce the risk of you tearing and or needing an episiotomy, can actively do something about it, which is amazing. So to spread the word. And then the other two types of assisted delivery are Von-2s or forceps delivery, and these can only be done if your cervix is fully dilated, and if your baby has descended far enough into your vagina, So the Von-2 is like a little suction cup that just goes into the top of your baby's head, and they just sort of, and with a little pump, they increase the suction just enough so that when you push, the doctor or qualified midwife, because some senior midwives can perform instrumental deliveries, will just guide your baby up and out. Okay, and then forceps delivery, again, your doctor will decide which is most indicated for you and your baby, whether it's a ventouse or a forceps. The forceps are two little metal spoons that go on the side of your baby's head, and again, they help to guide with your pushing your baby up and out of the vagina. There are two different types of forceps, and there are Neville Barnes forceps that are usually applied in the same room as you've been laboring. But then you also have Killen's forceps, okay, which are a different type of forceps, less commonly used, and most usually these forceps are performed in theatre, because these are forceps that are used for when your baby is not probably in the most optimal position, and as well as guiding the baby out of the pelvis, the baby's head needs to be rotated a little bit. So yeah, but if, say, if you had an epidural in situ, you would be offered a top-up, okay, for any instrumental delivery. If you did not have an epidural in situ, then you will be offered what we call a pudendal block, okay, which is a strong local anesthetic, okay, different to the one that you're giving for an episiotomy. It actually goes in deeper inside the muscle of the vagina, okay, and the doctor makes very certain that you are really well topped up and comfortable before they proceed. Yeah, and if you needed to go into theatre for a Keelan's, then you would be given and top up of your epidural if you already had it, or a spinal anesthetic to numb you from waist down.
So the last type of birth that I want to talk about is cesarean section. So cesarean section, if it's an emergency cesarean section, is not like it's very, very rare that it's like mentally like and got to get the baby out now. There'll be time. So it's called an emergency cesarean section. You'll be taken down to theatre. There'll be a allotted time span as to when they want the baby to come out. So it could be category 1, which is usually like 30 minutes, or so baby needs to, that's their targets for baby coming out, or category 2, which is a little bit longer. Now, it can be a little bit frightening to have an emergency cesarean section. You'll be wondering what's going on, wheeled down a corridor, but your midwife will be with you, your birth partner can be with you, and just be aware that there'll be a lot of people around. That's only because, not because it's a crazy emergency, but because a person is needed for different types of things with a cesarean section. So
Right.
a scrub nurse, you'll need 2 doctors to perform the surgery, an anaesthetist, an operating department assistant to help the anaesthetist, a paediatrician who will be there just in case baby needs any help, and maybe healthcare and a midwife as well in there too. So it can seem really rather overwhelming when this happens. So try not to, just try to realise that all those people there, they've just got their own little tasks to perform. And if you've got any questions, just ask your midwife as you go along. An elective cesarean, you'll probably know about that a little bit more beforehand. So you'll kind of have a more controlled lead up towards that. But do ask your midwife if you've got any questions about your elective cesarean section as well. We do have a blog on elective cesarean section, so you can read all about the what would happen in the most likely scenario of an elective cesarean section. So please do take a look at that on our website. When you get down to the theatre, then you'll be in a little anaesthetic room. They'll make sure that you're properly numb from the waist down. You will have a cannula in your hand, because they'll need to make sure that they can control your blood pressure by giving you fluids and things. So they've got a line in for you. and you'll be fitted with a catheter as well, because obviously they want to keep your bladder empty to make sure that that no damage occurs there. And then when you are wheeled into the theatre, you'll have a screen up, so it'll almost be like in front of your face. Now you can ask for that lowered if you want to see a little bit more of what's going on. So have a little think about that if you would like to see what was going on. Obviously, you'll get your birth partner to look if they don't have the stomach for it. But some men, you know, are really fascinated, and some women, if your birth partner is a woman, some people are really fascinated about what's going on and really get quite excited and quite involved.
They do, but yeah, we want to be picking people up from the floor, do we, Karen? When we're in the middle of assisting a cesarean section, so make sure that they are okay with gory bits.
So it can make you feel a little bit shaky, because the anaesthetic makes you a little bit shaky, so you might feel a little bit like this. Sometimes it doesn't bother people, but often a little bit of the shakes, and you might feel as well that somebody's rummaging around in your tummy, but you can't really quite feel it. So a bit of rummaging, which can feel a little bit peculiar, women say, which I can imagine it does. And then once you feel that rummaging, you know that your baby's just going to be out really quite quickly. And it really is quite quick, isn't it, from the incision going in, especially if it's your first cesarean section, to the baby being born. And your baby will go to the midwife first, be handed to the midwife, but hopefully she'll come to you pretty quickly afterwards. And you can even have skin to skin in theatre. Now, the bit that takes a lot of time is stitching up all those layers that need to be stitched up. So you might find that you'll be thinking, what's going on here? You know, it seems to be taking an awful lot of time, but it is just getting everything back together and putting it, you know, all the layers back and making sure there isn't any bleeding, and, you know, that it's a proper job, basically. So don't time it's taking, and, you know, you can always ask questions to your surgeon or the anaesthetist about, you know, what's happening as well. So feel free with that. I think, well, we've covered a lot, haven't we?
We have covered loads, yes.
To say, Malena?
Sorry, darling, I think we were speaking at the same time. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, so we've covered an awful lot. We've covered the second stage of labour, the positions to use. We've talked about pushing and crowning, that warm compress, the need for perineal massage, and to explore that a little bit more whilst you're pregnant. We've talked about placenta and the different ways of delivering your placenta. A lot to think about there as well. And we've also covered different types of birth that aren't just normal spontaneous vaginal births. We've covered episiotomies, assisted deliveries, and cesarean sections, all of which we have blogs on. And some we have videos on, so please do check out our channels. And you can tune in next week as well, and you can see our 7th antenatal class, which is all about the golden hour and delayed cord clamping. 2 really important things to consider after your baby is born. So I hope all that's been helpful. Don't worry if you've missed a bit on this video, because it's all going to be loaded onto YouTube, and it'll be there forevermore as a series for you to watch. And we'll see you next week.
Lovely. See you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.